Hello, everyone. My name is Sarah, the Rainbow Hearted Witch, and today I would like to introduce you to a good friend of mine, Miss Lori. And Lori, I met her at the Spiritualist Church in Vermont, and then she also used to host Angel Gates, and I hear she has an Angel Gate coming up. Lori, would you like to talk about your upcoming Angel Gate?
Sure. All I'll just say is that it is an incredible experience using sacred geometry and people that come together to witness the divinity in all.
Yeah.
And we call in the archangels, and each person goes in individually, although there is a group aspect to it as of holding energy, and that's all you do. You don't participate when someone else is in the gate, and they have their experience and then they come out. Next person goes in. It can be 5 minutes, it can be 30 minutes. You're in there until you feel you're done, and
Yes.
nobody messes with you. You are there to work with your angels and however you see fit. We'll share afterwards if you feel you want to hear what we've experienced on the outside, and you can share with us if you wish as well. But what did you experience in the gate?
I always loved going in the gate. Well, even just calling in the archangels, like your voice, Lori, is so beautiful. And then with everyone chanting together, it always gave me goosebumps, always. And being in the center is unbelievable. It's like nothing you've ever experienced before. That vortex of energy, of healing energy, is just so powerful. And the things that your body does in there, like, blows your mind. You're like, this defies physics. It's the coolest
It
experience.
does.
So I know, for the people who are listening on the East Coast, where can you give us the details? Because I do know, there's some people watching who are over there.
Sure. Right now, we're in the process of setting one up, deciding when and where. It's if we do it, let's see, how would I? Well, I guess you're going to have people watch my Facebook page because I'll have it on that.
Okay.
So we can Lori Labelle at facebook.com. I don't know how they actually do that, but and based in Vermont, although I'm living currently in New Hampshire. And it's going to be the 17th of September, probably. That seems to be the only time everybody's got free. And it can go anywhere from an hour and a half to 3 to 4 to 5 hours, depending on. I've done a gate where I started at 11 and I ended at 11:30 the next night, or
What?
that night. Sorry,
Oh my
a
God.
12-hour gate. People just kept coming and going, coming and going. I was exhausted.
I can't imagine holding that energy for 12 hours,
Yeah,
Lori.
I did.
Wow.
I did. It broke up. I mean, we had lunch and then I did some tuning with the tuning forks, but then we were right back into the gate. So it was a long day, but I get so much out of it myself. I just love facilitating that. It's such a wonderful experience I haven't had anybody had a bad experience yet.
It's
So,
so,
and they're not going to in that energy.
no, it's so amazing. It's so powerful. I miss
It
your
really
gates.
is.
I miss your gates, Lori.
Well, if I ever get out there, you ever come back, we will have one just for you.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
Hopefully I'll be home by then. But yeah, it's been a great blessing for me to do the gates.
So let's rewind. You had your awakening back in 1999.
Yep, it was an evening of 1999. It actually started in February, and I was 20, 99, 63, 73, 93, so 36. And then when I was 25, I had a spinal cord injury, or what amounted to one, and so I was left paralyzed but able to walk from the waist down. It was more lack of sensation and muscles and nerves and all that. So then I was working, I'd been in the jewelry business for 12 years, and I was working in the third jewelry store, and I was up in Vermont. And the gate, okay, I lost myself here. Oh, my first spiritual awakening. Well, the store was closing, and I didn't know what to do. Um, I really had no idea what I was going to do. I didn't want to go back in the jewelry business. Yet, this one person, as the store was closing, would come into the store and talk to his friend who was the jeweler and tell me he was taking Reiki and that kind of stuff. And I was just like, there's got to be something for me out there. I know I'm meant for more than this. And so I started down a depression, kind of just, what am I going to do? I have no I majored in history, but I didn't major in education, so I wasn't going to teach history. And I just didn't know what to do. And I said, there's just got to be more to my life than this. And continued down that path for another week. And then in one night, I'd had it. I had literally had it. I would not be one that I could commit suicide, but I was ready to go. And I put out the clarion call for the universe to bring me home right now, or to put me into my life's purpose right now. And then I just kind of teared myself out to sleep, woke up the next morning, I was still there. um and I found myself going into that night, uh Facebook or AOL at that time had rooms, and you would go in, and there was an angel room. And I said, that's where I need to go. I need to go to this angel room. So I did, and they were doing readings in there en masse. I mean, there were a lot of people in there, and they would just pick. And when I got picked, the minute I entered the room, I knew I was supposed to be there. And she told me all these things that were going to happen. She said, oh, by the way, she goes, you have to go and pick up Conversations with God, book 1. Actually, she goes, you need to read all of them. So I went and got the first one. And in the first chapter, it says you create your life based on your love or your fear. And boom, aha moment. Everything was being created out of fear. And I said, that's it. That's it. I am not doing that anymore. I'm going to create out of love. So I put a rubber band on my wrist, and every time I had a thought that was not of love, that was fear-based, and once I realized it was fear-based, I would snap it and take everything back sort of to the beginning and try and change it and do it out of love. If I had a conversation with somebody, then I would take back my part of the conversation that I knew where my issues were, why I was angry, why this made me feel this way, taking my ownership of the whatever was going on in the call, and realizing that they too had responsibility in how they responded and reacted to me as well as I did. So that's how I kind of got started changing my thoughts and my views. And then in this reading that I had after I read the book, I went back in and I had another reading. Same person it ended up being, and she told me I was going to meet a healer online, and it was going to be in mid-July, and he was going to give me some information that would change my life. In the meantime, I decided, okay, the store is closing this. I'm going to take Reiki. And I had no idea what I was doing. I had not been exposed to anything like it, and I still didn't really, I mean, I read up on it, but I didn't really know anything, or anybody hadn't experienced it. And I was wondering, I went up to visit my brother in Burlington, and I was wondering, geez, how do I know this is the right thing to do? I don't know anybody that's doing this. I don't know anything about it. And that night, when we came in, we went out to take the dog out. We came in, I went to lay down, and I heard this voice. You are going to be given a gift that will help many. And then I saw on the ceiling, it was like somebody was doing a slideshow, face after face after face after face after face after face. Twice it stopped on a locale, and then it would start again with face after face after face after face. And the first locale that I remembered looked like red rock or sand. It was red behind, and there was like an adobe building and a Jeep outside it. Do you have a Jeep? No. Um, it was somewhere near, actually, I thought it was Arizona with the Native Americans that were there, but it was not. It was more South America, the indigenous down in South America. And then the other one was just a place. It was, a lot of greenery, but nothing I could really figure out where it was. So I decided that then and there that, oh, I guess I'm going to take Reiki. So I did. I took Reiki 1, and then I took Reiki 2, 5 months, 6 months later. But I didn't do my master until 5 years later. I wasn't feeling like I needed to, unless I decided to teach it, which I eventually did. But that started me off in sponge mode, where I was just sucking up anything I could find. The dowsers, I went to the dowsers. Just anything that could happen. I was looking to experience it, and there wasn't much in the Upper Valley at the time. There really wasn't. Um, but we created a little group that would sit together and talk, and made my way out to the Spiritualist church. Um, and then I met a I was doing some work on the computer in July, and all of a sudden, and I had posted to an angel board in a forum my experiences so far with all this. And I was just about to get off, and all of a sudden, a message popped up, and it said, "Sounds like you had an angel experience." And I'm like, "Oh, who's this?" And he was his name was Steve, and he was from San Jose, California, and he was a healer out there in multi-dimensional modalities. And he said, "Listen," he goes, "I want you to go read this. I want you to get this book, and I want you to read it and see if you resonate with it. And if you resonate with it, then we'll talk some more." So I went and got the book, of course. And
What was the book? Do you remember?
um Into Hands of Light, I don't no, I don't really remember it, but I could find out for sure. Um Something of, I can see the cover, but I can't make it out.
Is it
Um
blue with hands and the light?
there's hands and there's light. And I've given it away copies, and it's by Joe.
No, then that's not hands of light. Because that's
No,
like,
it's not Barbara Brennan.
yeah.
It's not Barbara Brennan. No, this was about Archangel Michael visiting this man and teaching him a formation um, to use to initiate people, and that was the gate. And it was the gate of grace. I don't use it the same way that they use it. I did become part of that group, which at that time was to teach only love, and any way that you taught it was good enough. I mean, it was just, you just put out love. And so I stayed with them for a while, and I met a bunch of people. I met Steve, actually, and I met a bunch of people who are actually kind of famous now. Um, and I met some readers who helped me. Um, but once I was shown how to use the gate for myself, and not because I never, the way they used it is they used it in healing, but they also used it for initiation into their group. And I didn't see myself initiating any more people into the group under that because it shifted and shifted and it became about teach only tools instead of teach only love, at least for me. And that wasn't what I joined for.
Yeah.
Um, and so a lot of people, went out and in and out. But I wish them well, and I don't even actually know if they're still together as a group. I know some of the people that are still in it because I that are still around, but I don't know whether they're actually active as a group. But one day I was sitting there, I had stopped using the gate personally, and I was reading one of Alberto Vialdo's books, I believe. And he was talking about how light had the frequencies to hold memories, and I was like, oh, that's why when you go someplace, sometimes you can feel or see some of the things that existed there. It's because it's memories in actually in the light.
Mhm.
And so I um was thinking about that and just sitting there, and when I have I meditate, I kind of go off. I'm still awake, but I'm just not there. I'm somewhere else.
Mhm.
Um, and so I was sitting there on the back porch, and all of a sudden, felt the angels come in, and I saw the gate, and then I saw the stones lift and move around. And when it came down, it was a different gate. And I'm like, oh, and he goes, this is for use later. Okay. So I didn't do too much. I knew I wrote down what I was supposed to write down, and I didn't do too much. And then I saw it go back to the gate of grace. And when it did, I was shown a different way to use it. The group situation where people will come in and use it for their own benefit. And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting. And so that's when we started actually using the gate as transformational grace. And that's what I call it, standing in a place of transformational grace. So I don't call it the gate of grace, I call it transformational grace. But Joe, I wish I could remember his last name. Maybe it'll come to me later.
Yeah.
But it's been with me ever since. I have occasionally gone into the other when I was formed, and I think it's more for personal use at this point. I was somewhere I've never been before. It was very red sand. It's kind of a red atmosphere actually, and these beams of light. There were one, two, 6 in the front row and 6 in the back row. And there was just conversation that went on. I couldn't tell you what it is now because that was years ago, 20 years ago. But I have it written down somewhere. And so that was kind of my beginning of using the gate. Meanwhile, still going through all of these modalities that I could. IET, integrated energy therapy, EFT, bio bio
Feedback?
gym. Hmm?
Oh, not biofeedback, but the
No, bioresonance. I use the tuning forks, and then I studied with Robert Gilbert, sacred geometry, and um, I studied with him also on the biogeometric energies in the body. Dr. Kareem out of Egypt taught him, and then I took some of his classes. But pretty much it's been just me opening a book or watching something and then having experiences that people would think were absolutely nuts, if they started happening to them, and I did. I thought I was nuts. I mean, I've thought I've when I have certain areas where things have happened that I'm like, "This can't be happening." But yeah, so that's how that kinda started. Um, and then Omala came in, and that's a whole other story.
Yeah. We would have
He's
to
attacked.
spend like a whole 40 minutes just talking about Amal.
Yeah, Omala, yeah, that's for sure. Because he's come back and in my life a lot of times, excuse me. So that would put us up to about 2005 or 6, I would say probably from
So
1999.
right before your kind of like first pilgrimage where you came out here to Arizona, right?
I did. I did. Everything started, I kept feeling I was drawn to go to the Southwest. And I am one who, okay, let's put it out there and bring me the validation.
Right.
And I knew I had to go looking for something. And I wasn't quite sure where it was, but I knew it was going to be in the Southwest. No doubt about that. So I started just letting things come to me. And one of the things that came to me was, and I was still in the seven at this point. I think I hadn't quite given my leave, my notice of leaving. Um, was that the seven churches, and they called them the churches. I don't think they do it anymore, but were Philadelphia, the Church of Smyrna. There were all the churches of the ancient Catholicism, or ancient over in Israel. And they were set up in such a way that they mirrored Orion's belt. And so I knew that was connected to it as well. So I just would start watching for things mentioning Orion's belt. And this one particular YouTube was talking about how Orion's belt was mirrored here on Earth in the Southwest using Chaco Canyon, Canyon de Chelly, and some of the Indian places there that some, I don't know if they were on the reservation, but they were certainly within it somewhere. And these were all star points as well to Orion. So I started looking at them, and Canyon de Chelly and Canyon de Chelly, and then Chaco Canyon. And at first I thought I was going to go to Chaco Canyon, which is in up northwest corner of New Mexico, or just above. And then Canyon de Chelly is the northeast side of Arizona, above the interstate. And I ended up, because of the way everything was situated, it was going to be hard for me to get to Chaco Canyon, whereas I could drive right to Canyon de Chelly. So I decided that that was the place I was going. And what I was looking for was a room or a cavern cave in the Red Rock, because I'd had a vision and experience when I had cranial sacral work done that showed me there was something there for me, that so I had been there before and something had occurred there, and that if I could find it, I would probably remember that. Um, Somebody was doing cranial sacral on me as I got it, and she could see everything I was experiencing
Oh
because
wow.
she started telling me where I was and what I was doing, and she said, "But there's a certain area I can't go past."
Oh.
And so I ended up going to Canyon de Chelly, and the things that happened there were just amazing. All the things that happened there. Um, and then further up, I went up to Canyon of the Ancients. I knew there was somewhere else I was supposed to go. So I took a pen and I just kind of plopped it down on the map with my eyes closed, and it happened to be Canyon of the Ancients.
Where's that?
That is above Mesa Verde. It's actually not a canyon at all. It's farm field. It's where they would come up during the winters and stay up on the land and not down in the canyon.
Oh, okay.
So this was quite old. But my first experience was at Canyon de Chelly, and I brought my crystal with me. This was a very special crystal had that became mine. It's put in my hand, and I said, "Oh my God, I know this crystal, and I can't. I've got to use it." So it took me years to get into it, but when it did, it led me the right way. So I went to Canyon de Chelly, and I got there kind of in the late afternoon, and it was too late to do anything. So I just drove out along the canyon edge, just kind of see where I was going to be going, looking for things. And you couldn't really see to the over the edge because you were looking down in the canyon, so I couldn't really see a whole lot. So I ended up going back, but I said, "Hey, I can bring my crystal, and I'm going to go into the gift shop and see if they have any pouches that I could, leather pouch that's all beaded that maybe I could put it in, because it's not a small crystal. It's quite a good size. I have it right here. So this is the crystal.
Oh, wow. Look at that. Beautiful.
It's
And
in
it's
it.
huge.
I don't know if you'll see everything that I can, but it was giving to me, and handed to me like this, and I
Oh,
was like, "That's my handprint in there."
yeah.
You can't really see it as well here, but
You can see a little
it
bit. Yeah.
and when I looked at it, um, up here, there's a heart.
Yep. Oh my goodness. That's so
And there's
cool.
actually another one down in here.
Oh, okay, there it
And
is.
I know, can you see the trigons on it?
Yes. Oh, wow.
All the triangles?
It's so cool.
There are layers and layers and layers of record keepers in it. And down here, there's another heart and smoky quartz.
Wow.
So there's two hearts, and I actually was told I was going to get the other piece of it because this goes on the solar plexus, and the other piece goes on the sacral, which I do feel I have gotten in the etheric. Um, so I took this with me, and I was and she's like, "Where did you get that? Did you find that here?" And I was like, "No, I brought it with me." And she goes, "You need to go." She goes, "You need to go to Spider Rock with that." And I'm like, "Well, how do I get out there?" And she goes, "It's the very last that's on the map, and it's right way out at the end." I said, "Okay, I plan to go out there, and I'll take it and I'll meditate with it." So I went out there, never did find a pouch for that, but I went out there, and I also took a trip, a tour with one of the natives there, the indigenous people, and was shown different areas, as was everybody else. But I asked the question left him confused and me. Okay, I'm on the right track. I went out with the crystal. That was the day before. I went out to this rock, and I'm gonna try and get you a picture of it.
Okay.
Um, it was just a rock that went up in the middle. This big, huge canyon, and there was a rock that just went up. I don't know if it's like 3,000 feet in the air, and then there's a little one next to it, and there's just a tree on the big one. That's all there was a tree. And I sat there and I took my crystal out, and I closed my eyes, and I saw somebody dancing on the rock. It was a little older woman with a red cape, and she was just dancing back and forth. And she looked at me. She stopped, she looked at me, and she said, "Will you share all that you're seen and are given?" And I said, "Yes." And that was important because that was one of the things that opened up this crystal with me, was having this vision and seeing a pyramid and being told that I had to share everything that I see and experience. And I would be asked that 3 times, and that after the 3rd time, everything was set in stone. There was gonna be no going back. I had the free will to do it or not, but it was my path was set. I didn't know what, but I said yes. And so she asked me that, and I said yes. And she put out her hand, and as she put out her hand, this gold fine wire came from her, or thread came from her hand to me. As it's making its way across the canyon, because this is like a ways away, as it's making its way across the canyon, I hear footsteps coming. And I'm like, "Oh, no," because I was sitting on a rock, and then there was the pathway in front of me, and then the rock canyon was in front of me, so they were gonna have to go down and go right through me, right by me. So I'm sitting here like, "Just okay, just receive, receive, receive," and they stopped, and then I heard them climbing the rocks up and behind me and came down the other end. They did not break that.
Wow.
I don't know, I was curious, I was like, "Wonder what they saw
Mm.
for them to know not to come through it."
Yeah.
But anyways, I received that, and which said was that was my second time. And so, I then went back, and I went and I said, "I'm really tired." So I went and laid down, and I don't know what the message was with this, because again, I don't have my books to that I wrote it in, but my stomach started opening up, and there was a Native American standing at the end of my bed, full headdress and a staff, and he was saying things, and I don't know what he was saying, but all of a sudden, out of my belly comes an eagle,
Wow.
and I'm like, "This is huge, and this is important, but I have no idea what it means."
Yeah.
Which I still don't actually, that part, but I knew I was getting stuff that was for the future. I knew everything's always been for what's coming, not for now. And then it was time to leave there. I felt I was done there. And so I decided to go up to, I was going to go to Shiprock, which is like a ship in the, have you heard of that? Shiprock? It's in New Mexico, and it's said to be not of this world. So, but it looks like a big ship that's crashed,
That's
a-
cool.
and there's a lot of things written about it and stuff. So I thought I was going to go there, but I decided, I'd done this canyon with the ancient, so I went there instead with all my time. Found a place that was, I didn't know where it was. I was coming down. I was like, I don't know where Canyon of the Ancients is, and I'm looking for these canyons, and I'm not finding canyons. It's telling me to go out into this field, and in these fields were some ruins that were built in. They were the kivas, so you go in and it's all below ground. So I sat there for a while, and I was like, well, I wonder why I wonder why I've been sent out here, because there was nothing there. There's one person walking around, and then they left, and I'm there all by myself. So I go over to one of the kivas, and I sit. There were some steps down in it, and then it kind of stopped, and then so you couldn't I couldn't, because I had the crutches and stuff, and I couldn't get back down in there. So I sat on the side of it, and again, I just kind of closed my eyes, and all of a sudden, then things are happening again, and I can hear voices, and I open my eyes, and I'm watching these men inside the kiva, and they're two different groups. It's a group that were there and group that came there, and they were talking about trying to get something decided. One group wanted something, and the other group was like no, and they kept pushing and stuff. So it was getting a little heated, and as it got heated, I started hearing voices, raising their voices, but it was coming from outside. So I went outside and it was all the women were chanting. I've never seen or heard any of this. So I don't I all I know is what I experienced. And the women were chanting, holding the vibration of what was going on inside and raising it as needed or what. And it was the most amazing thing just to see what their role was, in that they were actually in a more powerful role than the men were. And
So the women chanting, they were all on the spiritual plane as well?
they were all well, everybody was because I was seeing something that was not happening in this time.
Right. Okay.
But they were raising the vibration of the space so that what was going on inside was not escalating.
Hmm.
They were bringing more of a peaceful feeling to whatever was going on inside. I didn't really understand what that part was for me that I was going there for. I knew when I went to the Canyon de Chelly what I was looking for, which was this cavern where I experienced something in another life, and I needed to go back to it. And it was it was a red rock cave with water in it,
Oh, wow.
and there was hieroglyph petroglyphs on the walls, and there were two places for torches. And when I saw it, I was a young woman and very short, long dark hair, and I was in the water up to my thighs, and outside the water there were four shaman medicine men, and between each of them there was a light being. So I'm standing there naked in front of them all, and they parted, and out came this taller man, and he came in the water and he embraced me, and I'm like, why are we here? I mean, I didn't understand. I was asking that of, what am I seeing?
Yeah.
And they said, you were in a place where two worlds meet, and you are being honored for all that you can do together that will take your people to a higher level, or will serve your people. And then that ended, and like it was probably a couple of years later I had a past life experience which showed me like what happened after that, which was pretty heartbreaking actually.
You guys, you have to like experience Lori's energy. It's so healing, it's so loving too. She has such a big heart. So, Lori, thank you so much for your time today. And
You're welcome. It was great catching up with you.
definitely, and I will link, if you could email me your Facebook info and like anything
Yep.
else, I'll link it down below in
Yep.
the comments so people can reach out to you or find out, when and where the angel gate will be, because you guys have to experience it. Like, you'll be in there and you'll be like thinking you're doing Michael Jackson moves without his special shoes.
Yeah.
Like, literally, you do that stuff.
Yeah.
It's so
Shelby's the one, she goes backwards. She goes backwards, almost touches the floor with her head. And then my cousin was there, and he was like in his wheelchair trying to catch her. And I was like, no, 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 don't, it's okay. She'll get back. And she pulled herself back up, and he was like,
but it's not her pulling. I mean, you're like lifted. You don't feel yourself. You don't realize.
yeah. One of the first times I was doing the gate, and I did it in a group home. I did it in someone's home, and she had a friend. And I felt it was a special Christ formation healing that needed to be done. And you set up people in a different way, and they go into a healing. The person that you've chosen or tells they go into the center. And there was this woman who immediately upon entering the center starts screaming, my baby, my baby, my baby, my baby. And I'm like, oh my God, what have we done? Because it's obviously she had lost a child, and she was experiencing the grief from, oh my God, right from her gut. And um we're looking, me and the other person and are holding the energy, and we're looking at each other, and I'm like, are you sure this is okay? And she's like, oh my God, what have I done? Because she was the one that said it was her. When we ended and she came out, she got more peaceful and more peaceful, and then this beautiful like she went from screaming and grief and my baby to smiling, my baby, my baby. I mean, it was amazing. And what she told us afterwards is that her child was with her father and they came standing before her
Mm.
and she was able to see her. And that next year, when it came around time to be the anniversary of the child's death, everybody said she was healed. She didn't take a week off and just it was amazing.
So she
It was
released
amazing.
everything from that.
She released everything, yeah, of that grief and everything and saw her healthy and oh, it was just amazing for her.
I have goosebumps, like,
It was I was scared because this is the first time I'd ever had anything like that happen. And but I knew I'd never had anything bad happen in the gate.
it's
So
so scary when you're working on someone doing energetic and they just start releasing. It's scary, especially the first time. You're like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do?" And
or
usually
how they release.
yeah,
You don't know, if they're coming to you first time, you don't know how they release. They
exactly.
might release through laughter and just go hysterical, or they might go into crying or just curl into a ball. You really don't know. And if they haven't done much work, they don't really know how much
I
they
had
really.
someone, like, start almost, like, having convulsions on the table, and I was terrified. Terrified. Luckily, I had a mentor with me who was like, just keep holding the space, just keep holding the space." But I
Yep.
was so scared because I was like, "What is going on?" Like, I looked at her panicked, like, total panic.
I had a man who I never will see again, I can tell you this.
Oh,
He oh, no, because of what happened, he was in on the table, and his legs go up in the air,
uh-huh.
and then his hands go up in the air, so he's
Oh,
like this, and he's like, "I'm not doing this." I said, "Just relax, it's the angels working on you, they're moving you around so
yeah.
that you can take the energy," but, oh my god, it was hilarious, but I never did see him or hear from him again.
It's so freaked out. I know. You never know what you're gonna experience.
Well, that's where you gotta live give up control is
Yeah.
just because you don't know what's happening, doesn't mean it's not supposed to happen. And it is the way if they're going to hold hold it in and not want to release it, it's gonna fight with them kind of until it realizes, "No, you're not gonna release this," so they swallow it and they go on to the next healer,
Yeah.
usually.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching my video. I had so much fun uploading it. I upload videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Check them out. I also have a Buy Me a Coffee if you would like to support this channel monetarily. So the links are down below and I will see you all next week. Bye guys.